Then questions and answers on acupuncture and Moxibustion of Wang Ji. In the first volume of the book, Wang Ji said, "From this it can be known that the indications of 9 needles are mostly caused by the invasion of external evils. The reducing by needles just targets at the disease condition. Nowadays, if people have such diseases, the needles should be used for sure. But if the pathogenic evils are excessive and the original qi has already been injured, needles will never be of any help. For example, in the case of yin deficiency and hyperactivity of fire in consumptive disease, the therapeutic principles should be nourished in and lowering fire. But can the needle nourish yin? In the case of lung heat causing burned lobes in Wei syndromes, the therapeutic principles should be clearing the lung and supplementing water. But can the needle supplement water? Wang Ji first analyzed the effect of 9 needles mentioned in the inner classic and summarized that the indications of 9 needles are mostly caused by invasion of external evils. So it's a perfect manipulation to apply needles to those problems. And if people nowadays have such kind of diseases, the needle can absolutely be used. But Wang Ji was a physician. He wouldn't analyze all problems from the viewpoint of an acupuncturist. So he questioned the application of acupuncture in certain conditions, such as there is excessive evil, but meanwhile the patient is weak because the original qi has been injured. He gave 2 detailed cases. One is that yin deficiency and hyperactivity of fire in consumptive diseases. We need to nourish yin and lower fire, but how can needle nourish yin? In another case, when we need to supplement water, how can needle do that? Obviously, for cases requiring supplementing yin or water, Wang Ji believed that needles won't work, and he quoted from Inner Classic to support his opinion. He said, "This is what the saying that insufficiency of yin, yang, and physique qi, such cases can't be treated with needles, but can be regulated with medications of sweet flavor," in the Inner Classic about. We learned this text before. We need to note that Wang Ji didn't deny that acupuncture can be used to lower fire or clear the lung, which is reducing. He just pointed out needles couldn't supplement yin or water, which belongs to the essentials of the human body. That is, needles can't reinforce. Wang Ji said, when we understand this, we will deduce whether the disease can be needled or not. This is to say, we need to fully understand the meaning of the quotation above to properly select indications of acupuncture. Then Wang Ji criticized some doctors who neglected comprehensive diagnosis. He said, "But what can be done to those majoring in acupuncture who know neither pulse taking nor body observing? They simply ask about the problem and then needle some points directly. It's natural there is obstinate cases caused by malpractice of needles. Though it may be effective occasionally, it's just by chance. Some will boast about their marvelous needling techniques, but won't that be laughed at by those who know their mistakes?" This comment is sobering. The indications of acupuncture should be strictly selected, and patients should be strictly diagnosed and screened for acupuncture treatment. In Volume 2 of Questions and Answers on Acupuncture and Moxibustion, Wang Ji further explained his viewpoint. The Inner Classic says insufficient yang can be warmed with qi, insufficient yin can be nourished with flavors, but needles are made of stone, which has neither qi nor flavor. What's more, it injures the skin and flesh, and pokes a hole in the body. Qi all comes out from the hole, and how can this be termed reinforcing? This is an interesting comment. For internal treatments such as herbal or food therapy, This basic principle is to warm yang with qi, nourish yin with flavors. Qi and flavors refer to the 4 qi and 5 flavors of medicine or food. This principle is derived from the 5th chapter of Su Wen, major discussion on yin and yang corresponding to natural phenomena. In Chinese pinyin, yin yang yin xiang da lun. Can this principle of internal treatment be the guide of external treatment? Apparently, Wang Ji believed yes. So a needle, originally made of stone and for external use only, can't be evaluated its qi or flavor. So Wang Ji believed it could supplement neither qi nor yin, of course, nor yin and yang, because qi and yang are of the same property. What's more, the needle can hurt the human body and cause the leakage of qi, so how can it be termed reinforcing? But in the inner classic, it did have the texts on reinforcing of needles, so Wang Ji needed to explain that. He quoted from the inner classic, said that to reinforce, the principle of circle should be employed. Circle means to move, and to move means to change location. This sentence was from Su Wen. Wang Ji explained that this manipulation is to disperse the stagnated qi and make it circulate, to change the unrecovered pulse and make it recover. So he commented that reducing is of course to reduce the excessive, but as to reinforcing, it says something like dispersing stagnated qi and changing the unrecovered pulse. Don't the dispersing and changing refer to reducing? And he further argued, besides, if we check application on 9 needles in basic questions, none of them doesn't belong to reducing techniques. Actually, Wang Ji had analyzed this in the first volume. Now he repeated this analysis and said that Zhu Danxi, respected doctor, had the same judgment. Though his students didn't record the explanations, Dr. Zhu won't say anything without evidence. But why does the inner classic use the term of reinforcing? Wang Ji explained that it's just like Mr. Zhang's viewpoint. To remove evils is actually to support the vital qi. To remove the old is actually to generate the new. Mr. Zhang refers to Zhang Congzhen, or another name, Zhang Zihe, a doctor living in the Jingyuan period, and was famous for the theory of attacking evil, because he believed that external evils were the reasons that caused the disease of the human body. So Wang Ji, a doctor in the Ming Dynasty, supported the opinion that the needle can only reduce but cannot reinforce. From Zhu Danxi and Yu Tuan, he analyzed the materials and functions of 9 needles and believed that the 9 needles were for the diseases caused by external evils. Those so-called reinforcing techniques of acupuncture were actually another expression of Zhang Zihe's opinion that to remove evils is actually to support the vital qi. To remove the old is actually to generate the new. These opinions and discussions of Wang Ji were collected later in the Great Compendium of Acupuncture and Moxibustion.